from the Penn Libraries.
The prototypical student is going to be engaged for the 50-minute lecture, for the 80-minute lecture, without any breaks. And as much as I'd love to be that person, I'm not. So, there's obviously like a balance of responsibility on that. Like, part of the responsibility is obviously on the student. We're paying the University of Pennsylvania to take classes, to learn, to get a degree, and hopefully make money. So it's obviously our responsibility to go to class and learn something. But not every professor is going to be engaging. And that's not your fault. It's really not. Like, sometimes your lecture might just not be as engaging as it usually is. And that's okay. But you do have to realize that like every student isn't going to be 100% engaged all the time. So for me, during certain classes, I need my 5-minute Facebook break. I apologize, but as soon as my 5-minute Facebook break is done, my laptop is closed and I'm back to writing notes. But like, I don't know if it's like a drug or if it's an addiction, but like, I just have to check my social media. It's something so ingrained in me. I apologize, but it's something that I have to do. It's almost compulsive. So like, open the laptop, 5 minutes, close it, back to writing notes about statistics, back to writing notes about victimology, back to writing notes about whatever I'm doing. It's something that is more common than you would think, and I'm not saying that it's necessarily a positive thing, but those 5-minute Facebook breaks really help me re-engage.
I know there's been a lot of studies that say multitasking is like almost impossible in the classroom, and I will to an extent agree with that. And I think that when you're in the classroom, if you want to be successful, you really have to shut off multitasking. Unless it's something, I really don't understand this. Let me look at a quick Wikipedia page to get a little better idea of what this person is. Other than that, though, like Facebook, if you're on Facebook, there's no way you're focusing on both. I have a class where professor, no laptop whatsoever. You're not allowed, and it's by far the most engaging class in a large lecture setting that I've been in at Penn. I mean, it's not just technology. He's very into grabbing students and bringing them in, but multitasking, the pressure of multitasking in class just has to be shut off. It's difficult because you're constantly, in an hour and a half, you could have 30 emails sent to your listserv, and you could be, missing an event, RSVP for the night or something like that. But I think it's really key to, when you're in the classroom, if you want to learn to your fullest extent, I think multitasking is extremely detrimental. And I know from my experience, it has been detrimental to paying attention. I see Professor Steins in the audience, and she's raising her hand. I had her freshman year, and a lot of people use laptops in her class, and I think it's really also a question of how engaging the professor is in general. Like, people, Professor Steins is very engaging. She plays the song at the beginning of class. It's really a really great experience. And for some people, I think the laptop might just be a great way to take notes. But for some classes, when it's less engaging, they can be, super scary for the professor because, if they're not creating an engaging environment, people use the laptop as an escape. And that's, it's either I'm going to go on Facebook or I'm going to fall asleep.
Anyone who's been an undergraduate knows that this is not anything close to real life. I mean, it's a joke to compare this to anything like as a stepping stone towards the real world, right? It's so far from it. We're in this weird bubble of social norms, and everything about it is not anything like real life. But what it is an opportunity for just concentrated learning, right? Like, where the goal is not like high school where it's like you got to get these requirements done and you've got to submit this stuff and whatever. Like, the goal is really just to engage really deeply and learn in a really meaningful way. And I think that's the opportunity that you have to give to your students. And I think kind of it's doing the students it's not doing them any favors to allow them to use a laptop in a classroom, because we may think that we want that, but in actuality what we really want is to engage deeply and to learn. And a laptop is inherently a multitasking device, right? And the line for us has become where we don't even, sometimes that line is blurred. If my email's open in this other tab and I just see that number going up, if I just run and check it for a second, that's not really multitasking. That's just part of what I do all day. But it is those little moments where you go and you do something on your computer, even if it's change the brightness, right? You notice the brightness is a little high, I'm gonna make it a little lower. That moment when you did something with this machine that has a lot of functions and is inherently capable of doing many things is where you lost that little question that would have sparked into your head that was really meaningful to what you were talking about. And so I find, like, I do my, so I'm advocating for this, right, like for not having laptops in the classroom, but I still take notes on a laptop in 2 of my classes, and I don't know why I do. I mean, it's irrational. I should stop. I should really just stop, because like when I do it, I try to focus, but there's always just something that's going to come up, and it's impossible not to. And I observe Jewish holidays, and on Jewish holidays I don't use any technology. And I went to that class on a Jewish holiday when I couldn't use my laptop, and it was so much more meaningful. I mean, the class wasn't. It's not the most interesting class that I have. It wasn't necessarily far and away like a better class. But I took those times when I normally would have been bored and gone and opened another tab, and just like thought about something crazy related to the material. Like took it that step further that I wouldn't have been able to do if I had a laptop.